422 East Commerce. And once again, Officer Linares has decided to be a prick and tell me that I'm not allowed to film this public map inside a public facility. So when he tells me that, I'll tell him whatever, dude. Do whatever you need to do. We've gone through this. You gave me an unlawful criminal trespass warning in the past. It got revoked. So he can go fuck himself. I told him I'm gonna wait outside for the police. And they've arrived. These are the same officers who responded to an earlier assault on me. Polite officers, but at the same time, they're like, damn, we hate the fact that you're right, but I have no obligation to put up with this particular security officer insisting that I have no right to film in public. He can go fuck himself, and I've told his boss that. I've told everyone else that with the city. They disputed this was a public area before. Public restrooms and information. Again, 422, and you see the no weapons allowed in city buildings sign. Again, those are the issues that created a problem here. This officer, thinking he's doing the right thing, wants to approach me and confront me. And I'm like, he wouldn't have had an issue if he'd just left me alone, let me film, let me do what I'm doing without an issue. Instead, he chose to be a prick. So at this point, I'm standing out here waiting for the officers. After they've spoke with him, yeah, he doesn't like the fact that now I'm filming him, being filmed with the officers. If he doesn't like it, he just needs to choose another career option. He needs to back off and stop enforcing policies that are not legal policies. If he doesn't like it, he can go fuck himself. I just shot Linares the bird. So again, my point here is that when you're in public property and people insist that they're going to violate your rights, and you've gone through all the steps that you need to do, to show them that it is public property, and they still continue to push bullshit, then you just have to go back and enforce that. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So again, still waiting out here for the police to come out and respond. I'm not concerned about it. Oh, watch out, ma'am. If you film in there, that security guard will try to have you arrested. I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you repeat that?
So, no smoking within so many feet from a business.
I'm not smoking.
That wasn't you smoking?
No.
Okay.
I smelled it and I saw
Can
it.
get a band-aid real quick for your finger?
No, I'm just wondering.
No CTW. I talked to him about the realities of what we were talking about. So
Okay.
the only thing he said was, which I advised him to get those lines to block off an area. So I guess that portion of
I got you.
that
I'm
portion of the
listening.
building is paid for by another entity, like not a city entity. They rent it from the city for like tourism stuff. I advise him if that's the case, because he's been told not to let anybody over there because it's rented out by a third party.
Right.
But if that's the case, they need to block it off. That's all I asked him. So
Gotcha.
if you would be hopefully respectful enough just to listen to him, I know he's a security
I'm
guard.
going to tell you straight out, every time I come in here, I'm going to walk over and film that now. And until the city decides.
If they put a lineup, would you respect that?
Yes, I would. If they restrict that from the public, I would. The problem is he doesn't restrict other people from walking over there. He restricts me. And the reason he restricts me is because I told him he could not restrict other people from walking in here and filming. He could not restrict other people.
Yeah, that was the other thing we talked about was getting signage up to maybe say no video recording in here. And then that would be different.
No, it would. And the same with that sign. If you look right over there, I'm pointing to it.
I know
He knows the sign's not legal. The city attorney came down and told him that. His own boss, if you look at his own orders, says he can't enforce that, but he still tries to enforce it. And so for me,
I talked about all that with him, okay?
Okay, well, I'll walk over with you. You've been really cool with me. I'll walk over with you. I'll get a Band-Aid.
I don't want to get infected and get used your finger or something.
You know, it wouldn't be the first time that...
Hey, you're getting old, bro. You have to take care of yourself. It's too old to get an infection and get sick.
Man, my thing is...
And then who else is that?
I film police all the time. You guys do what you do. You're respectful. You're polite. I appreciate that. But if an officer tells me something that's unlawful, I confront it. That's exactly why I'm down here as often as I am. That issue there, it took 2.5 months to get the unlawful criminal trespass warning that he gave me. It restricted my rights for 2.5 months because this guy feels like he has authority over the public to say you can't film in a public area. And I'm just like, look, it wouldn't have been an issue.
Remember, he's just trying to do his job. He's like, hey, I was told not to let anybody over there. And there are some people that can go over there.
Everyone in the public can walk over there. And he knows that. It's in his post orders.
He's told not to let anybody over there because it's rented out by a third party. I'll give you 2 of them. Just
appreciate
keep it clean, man, because go wash your hands or something.
So did you guys find those people downtown?
No, so we had put the bolo out. Actually, it was before. We put the bolo out in the Travis Park. Police officers didn't see anybody. So I'm assuming they probably had a car, maybe in that city garage or around.
No, they went around the corner. They took off.
We went down all the way down Travis, circled back Houston. Didn't see the individual.
No, it's okay. They were up.
We were standing with you for what, a whole 20 minutes?
Yeah, I get it. Look. Honestly, for me, as a citizen, this is my flat out point. If someone's going to walk up to me and they're filming a homeless guy and making jokes about it, you see how I dress. Okay? If they want to choose to do that and then I choose to film them and then they tell me, you need to delete us making a disparaging remark to the homeless person, I'm like, why? It's public information. But then when they say, if you don't delete it, we're going to assault you. And I'm like, if you're going to tell me that, I'm going to follow you. Yeah, what's that? Look, we all know. Yeah, I was part of that. But following them is completely different from a guy walking up and hitting me.
What got you started on all this auditing stuff?
The reason I do what I do is because police officers overstep boundaries, just like next door. Some. I'm not saying all.
He's not a police officer.
No, he is. Officer Rudiman, who responded to there, believed because that security guard. If you go over there right now, did you see that officer's name tag on him? Did you see a City of San Antonio ID? No, he's not displaying it. He's required by law to do that. But he chooses
carry
not
a security license around and do a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
But then that complaint doesn't go to him.
No, it goes to his company. But because he chose not to display his City of San Antonio ID, the officer agreed that it was private property, and it's not. It is public property. So the officer then went, it's open to the public, but it's private. And I said, no, it's a public property. I'm allowed to film in here. The officer, he didn't know better. He went off of.
You agree that if there's a sign that says no video recording, then you would
I
abide
don't
by
know,
the
because
rules.
even though the weapons and stuff is displayed, he's saying that it cannot be enforced.
They can't be enforced
It
because
can't
the
be
law
enforced.
changed. Because the law
It can't
changed.
be.
If it had the current signs with the verbiage that the current law
I thought the
says,
city was changing all of that. Why did they change it in that one
because
building?
it's the city, it's probably gonna take months.
Well, the city, look, you know the sign that was over here
Yeah.
for 17 years?
But that was correct up until the September law change.
No, it was not.
Is
It
it
was,
not?
it was unlawful for 18 years.
What was wrong with it?
The 30-06 warning,
And then,
you can't have that in a public building. I can walk in here, and I'm not pushing issues. The sign behind you, if I walk past that door, I can't carry a firearm.
Yeah.
I can carry a firearm here. I explained that to your officers multiple times. They continually insisted they would arrest people if they walked into a police lobby with a firearm. That's where my activism started. If you notice, all your signs, like the one next door, are off of all police properties. That's because of me. I'm not,
that was because the law changed, the verbiage.
no, it's because I pushed it with the city attorney.
Yeah.
Because one of your lieutenants down at Central Substation threatened to arrest me for something that he could not do. And I'm saying, look, if I know I'm right, I'm not gonna back down. And it's not about right or wrong. If an officer is doing their job, they're doing their job correctly. If I'm wrong, arrest me, do what I need to do. But if I'm right, and I say, you don't have a legal reason to do this, and I tell you that, and then you go and you point to a sign that is kind of unclear, like the one next door. And you go, well, the sign says this, and I say, it doesn't matter, it's an unlawful sign. But as an officer, you don't know, no officer goes through laws, they don't understand all that. As an activist,
You look through the laws.
look, 3802, 3802, do you know what the law
Off
is?
the top of my head, all of them? not all
No,
of them.
exactly. 3802, failure to identify.
But we can look it up.
Exactly.
I know the failure to identify. I'm not sure the exact
Code.
penal code number.
Okay,
But-
so your officer arrested me outside for failure to identify when I was not guilty of it. And I said, Officer Rudiman, you're making a mistake. He said, no, I can do this. I said, hey, you're gonna do what you need to do. I'm not gonna resist that. I'm gonna show your lieutenant, I'm gonna show everyone in your department you're wrong. I came in, I spoke to Sergeant Jerry Tone. Everyone in this department said, no, he can do that. What did I do? I'm an activist for a reason, to teach officers and civilians what they are and what they're not allowed to do. Okay? So when Sergeant Jerry Tone said, well, he detained you so he can enforce it, and I said, read the law. And then Lieutenant Berrigan was like, no, you're right. Wow. Okay, we need to get this back down to our officers. And I said, look, I don't hold anything against Officer Rudiman for that. He was under that impression. What my problem is, again, when I went over to this location and I'm doing what I'm allowed to do, and I walked in and I filmed a map, and the guy is going to throw me in jail for 6 months for something that isn't a crime. But the officer says, well, it is a crime because it's private property. No, it's public property. And like you were saying, the guard saying, well, I have orders saying that's restricted. Okay, well, if you have orders saying that, that doesn't make it the law. If you want to actually make that a restricted area, then you post the correct signage. Same thing at 515 South Frio. I've got a criminal case. It's supposed to go forward. It's been backed and backed and backed. The city chose not to put up the correct signage for 4 months. And then when I talked to the city attorney, they went, wow, you're right. We're going to put up the correct signage now. And I'm like, look, that's all you need. If you put up the correct
Is it up
signage,
yet?
I'm sorry?
Is the correct signage up yet?
Yes, over there it
Oh, I
is.
got it. How long did it take for you to put it up?
4 months. But here's the issue. They put up illegal signage, and then I confronted them. They took it down. They put up the correct signage. They took it down. But again, my point is like, as a civil rights activist, I'm not out trying to cause people problems, but I am an asshole. You see that.
I think we have a difference there. 'Cause you say you don't intend to, but you definitely do. I think it's your tact. You're not very tactful.
If I walk into another place of business, okay, and they're not disrespectful to me, I walk out, no problem. If I walk over next door, John, the security guard next door, polite, respectful, he was wrong about 30 different things, but I educated him on it. And he's like, no, I still think I need to enforce it. But he was polite. He wasn't assertive like this guy. And I said, check with your boss. I called his boss. I know Avail Security's boss, his CEO. And I'm like, you told me you fixed this, but you still have guards doing it. He's like, it's in the post orders. If you walk over there, you'll read the post orders specifically state, do not try to enforce that unlawful sign. John with Avail Security is pro-rights. He knows the laws, but it doesn't matter because the city chooses to leave unlawful signs like the one up there. This guard is going to say, I can still enforce it because the sign's up there. And when I come down, just like I came down here with your unlawful sign, and your officer behind the thing went, you're just a dickhead trying to cause problems. You got nothing better to do. And I said, hey, whatever, I'm out of here. And it wasn't until 5 days later that I actually spoke with Lieutenant Berrigan about it, because the sign, I'm like, city attorney, I got it. And then Lieutenant Berrigan was like, wow, you know your laws, you're right about it. We shouldn't have it up here. And I'm like, well, the same with the sign outside. I'm not trying to get an officer in trouble. I'm trying to make sure he understands he can't arrest someone. At that time, it was before the law changed. At that time, if I had a license to carry, I could walk in here. Now, anyone can walk in here with a firearm. Before that, it was a little different. But my point, going back to when I walk down the street, if
Not anybody, because if you're a felon, you still can have a firearm.
I'm a felon?
No.
If
You're a felon.
Oh, I'm like, whoa, wow, they got me. I'm a felon. Officers have a rough job. You guys, I mean, you have a rough job. You have to balance that issue between violating someone's rights and doing what needs to be done. And so it's hers. She's like, damn, I'm hungry. So, I'll let these guys get out of here. My thing like next door, you know, I'm being a dick. That's the way I am. If I walk in there and the guy confronts me and tells me I can't do something, I'm going to tell him, no, screw you. I can do this. Okay? Is that wrong? No, it's not. It's simply. Okay.
So are you doing it just because you see it's him and you had an encounter with him before and you already videotaped the darn map prior, so you just went in there to kind of incite?
No, I'm not inciting him. What I'm doing is showing to his boss on video that his boss has already told me. He's told the guard he can't do that.
Why didn't you this is tactful. This would be tactful. What's his name? You know his name?
Tanis Linares.
Like, hey, Mr. Linares.
I can give you his license number if
Like,
you
hey,
want.
Mr. Linares, look. I understand you believe that this XYZ is what you believe, but I spoke with your boss. There were some issues that you guys had. He put it in your post orders. He said it was in your post orders. Can you review them before we continue the discussion so we can
I've done that.
we can have a cordial discussion and not be upset with one another. Like, let's just solve this now. If you could just open your post orders, please, and look at what the post
I
orders
did do
say.
that, and I spoke
I'm
with
sure
his
you did not
boss.
talk to him tactfully like that.
You're wrong. I talked to him at the bus station down here. His boss actually, I have a video
No,
recording.
the guy in here.
Yeah,
security guy.
I have a video recording of me speaking with this boss about that discussion.
Huh?
Is
And
this before or after he reviewed the video where you were calling him a monkey?
I love that. I love that you're knowledgeable. His boss actually complained to me about that. And I told him, yeah, that was kind of inappropriate for me to call him a monkey on the video, but that's the way he's acting. And then he said, well, I will talk to my quote unquote monkey and make sure he's not doing that anymore. But the problem is that when Mr. Linares over here chooses not to display his name tag as a security officer as required by law, and then gives an a quote unquote lawful order, but it's not a lawful order because he has no authority. If he doesn't display his name tag, he's not a security guard in the state of Texas. That's just a
I mean,
fact.
technically he is. He's just a
No.
violation.
No, he has no apparent authority. That's DPS policy.
So if he's out of uniform, then he is. not-
Exactly. Okay, well, hold on just a second. Here you go. I have a security license. Now I'm a security guard inside your office. Because I have security on my forehead. Hold on.
Almost.
Yeah, there we go. I'm trying to get it. Because I have security on my forehead, does that make me a security guard?
I mean, if you're out of work, I mean, yeah, if you make a security guard, would you be heavily out of regulation? Yes. And would Texas fine you for that? Yes. But you would still be defined as a security guard. You would just be out of regulation. And that's why the state has a process of how to complain on a security guard and then be fined, right?
I love this hat. My point about the hat is that a security officer has no more authority than you or I as a private security or private citizen to tell someone to comply with the law. If a security guard chooses to state, I have authority to do this, then he has to identify himself as a security guard. If he chooses not to identify himself, he has no more authority than you or I as a private citizen on the street. Once he assumes he has that authority, and one of the clauses in the Texas law is that security guards can criminally trespass you, and versus the owner or person in apparent authority.
Their representation, you want,
I see it. I'll pick it up in a second. The issue, apparent authority. If he chooses not to identify himself, he's not an apparent authority because I can no longer complain to his chain of command about his complaint to me. So if he chooses not to identify himself, he has no apparent authority. This has been backed up in case law in Texas when security guards have tried to criminally trespass people. And again, if you don't have the proper uniform, you don't display your name tag, your company, and the word security, you're not a security guard. That is a state law. For a security guard to have authority, they have to be in compliance with the state law. He's choosing, even at this moment, even as we speak, not to do that. Can I go and get him a fine for $25? Yes, I can go and complain about that. It is, again, an occupational fine.
Yeah.
The issue, though, goes back to when he decides to tell people they cannot walk into a building that is a public building with a firearm. It's a public building. He is now telling
Past
them.
that part because he already knows that.
Oh, well.
He's already beyond that. His problem was you were walking into an area that he's been told is restricted because a private entity has established that area by renting it, right? They're putting a monetary value, they're renting it from the city and saying, okay, this is our, but even though it belongs to the city, it's now a private area because they rent it. That's where I was like, hey, well, we need to get something to close it off, like do something else.
If he really believes that, and he doesn't, he's making bullshit. And I'm just telling you flat out. As a matter of fact, I will give you the number for the city of San Antonio's central downtown operations, who leases the public facilities. You as a city cannot lease or sublease parts of your property. That's just a state law. It has to be subdivided before that. But if you guys believe that,
I
contact Chris Curzon, who's in charge of leasing that facility. He's the guy who finally went, yeah, we own that facility, even though everyone in the city of San Antonio denied it.
No.
I know that.
What's his name? Chris.
Chris Curzon. And he will tell you, no, we don't. We cannot sublease it because if they do sublease it, they're violating state law. If they are, I'd more than happily walk over here every day of the week and go, I'm standing in a subleased area by the city of San Antonio and you're saying it's illegal, arrest me for it. Because then I would go, you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
That, again, when I go into, when security guards overstep their authority, like this guy did, or officers overstep their authority and say, we're going to arrest you for this, or we're going to arrest you for that. And I say, no, you can't do it. There's a reason for this or that, and I have a right to film in public. You may not like it. Yes, as you saw earlier, following a person, it provoked something. Was that smart? No, not necessarily. I don't think it was smart. I'll even go back on that and I'll say it wasn't smart. But the fact is that I'm not going to be intimidated by someone telling me you cannot do something you're allowed to do. This person's filming on the street, I'm filming on the street. That still doesn't give him a right to walk up and hit me in my face. And at the same time, when I say, okay, so this person hit me in my face and he's going to walk around the street, no penalties whatsoever, but officers will say, well, you're kind of instigating that. And I say, I get what you're saying, but I'm not instigating it. I'm simply telling them that if you film me in public, I can film you in public. If you don't like that, don't be in public. And again, their response was, well, we'll take this to a fiscal level. Fortunately for all four of them, it didn't result in something further. I mean, fortunately for me, I'm an old man.
My partner brought up a good point. That wasn't so much saying that you wouldn't beat the self-defense part. But look at the Trayvon Martin case. How much shit did that, not even a security guard, who was just a neighborhood watch guy, how much stuff did he have to go through to clear his name with courts and lawyers and, and all the headache and heartache to, know that you might go to jail for killing somebody. You know what I mean? And
That's a very fine line. The same with officers. Mm-hmm. You deal with this a lot more than I would ever have to. I'm gonna tell you flat out. I've been involved in a personal defense shooting. I don't have a problem. That's on my record. I don't have a problem with that. I was cleared of it. But as an officer, you're going to be held to a lot higher standard than, in some cases, yes or no. But as far as self-defense, again, my whole thing, I kept backing up from these guys. The officer saw that. The security guard.
After you already pursued them for more than.
Hold on. If I'm standing like I'm talking to you right now, and I'm going to set my phone down because it's a hand gesture. I'm not armed, but I'll take off my glove. If you approach me and I back up, you hit me in my face and I punch you, that you can't tell me that's offensive. There's no way that you can tell me that.
Okay.
Well, when you're saying when I pursued them, yeah, I videotaped them. I videotaped them because they're videotaping other people on the street.
That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm saying, yes, you probably will beat the self-defense. Like, if you drew your gun and shot one of them, you probably beat it. But that wouldn't be at our level. That would be at the court level.
You're right. It would.
So look at the Trayvon Martin, how much heartache and stress it caused, right? And for what, though? Why did he follow him? What was the point of following him?
Okay.
He felt like they were doing
Okay,
something
so
wrong,
let me ask you this question right here, flat out. Tomorrow, after she's heard it, and she heard the videotape where he said,
I watched the video.
well, she heard, if I'm down in the downtown area tomorrow, he's going to kill me. It may have been a little off of that, but it was basically.
I could hear some, but while y'all were talking, that's why I asked you to have him send a video so you can go through it again.
So when the guy told me if I'm in the downtown area tomorrow, and I said I'll be down here, I'm not going to back away from that. Okay, so in your opinion, if I come back down here, because he told me if I come back down here, he's going to kill me. If I come back down here, then am I instigating that, or am I
No,
And again,
that's
I won't be down here
No,
tomorrow.
that's a completely different situation.
But-
I'm talking about the investigation in today, what happened today, where you were following them around, recording them. That's completely different from if you were just downtown tomorrow eating, with your family or a friend or something, and then you see him and he decides he wants to take action against you. That's completely different.
Okay, so let me ask you this, just flat out. I walk out the street. You got to get the gentleman who's across the street every day. He sits out there. You guys know him. He's a nice guy. Daryl. He's out there every day. I give him cigarettes. I give him some money occasionally. Occasionally he gets out of line. Occasionally, you guys know this. Occasionally he's very aggressive towards other people. I don't respond to that because I deal with a lot of people in that. And I'm like, hey, speaking which, this is the individual I was talking about. But generally, I don't have a problem with him because I know how to deal with or de-escalate that. But if on any given day I walk by and he says, give me $1, and I say, no, fuck you, is my saying, no, fuck you, escalating or not? See, that again goes back to like you were saying. Will you follow him?
I think if you know.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
because he does that with us because a lot of officers give him things. So it's times he'll come in here and be like, "Officer Harris, give me a soda." It's like that's not how you talk to me, Daryl. Just because
Right.
other officers are giving you things don't mean I have to give you anything, and I just walk away. But even if I was a civilian, same tactic. I'm not gonna be like, "Oh no, Daryl, f you," and
Right.
it's just.
So
I don't think that would so much. Yeah, it'll instigate the situation because it might piss him off, and you
No.
know, and you
It
know
depends on
that.
the day.
See, you know that he has mental health issues, right? So you saying that, you're kind of maybe putting some gas on the fire if he's already off his meds and he's
well,
already having
again,
it.
my
It's
point
kind of
there,
instigating,
my
right?
point there is that is it instigating a person or, and it's one of those touchy things. And again, like I said today, when they assaulted me, the guy ran up and hit me in my face. It wasn't. I didn't approach them. I stood back 15 feet, and my recording very clearly stated, "Hey, they're recording here. No big issue. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not, causing a problem. I'm going to stand back here." The guy walked up to me. He hit me in my face, and then what happened happened. But the sorry, the issue.
There's signs there saying they're paying the elevators.
Yeah, I laugh about that all the
You
time.
hear a
Because they
full
still walk
uniform, and they'll still walk in like, "Hey, does this look like you're?"
I know. You got the signs outside. I see it every day, and I kind of laugh about it.
Sometimes I feel like you should just. You're not very tactful. You don't.
I'm not
You have your
tactful.
point. You're very knowledgeable. I agree with you. You're very knowledgeable. You have very solid points, but you're not very tactful. And I
The
think you can do a
problem.
lot more educating or just spreading the knowledge if you were more tactful.
Okay, so Officer Silva, flat out honestly, if I go out, I'm very tactful, and I tell someone politely, like the gentleman down at the start of my video when they were filming the homeless person and making this, and they said, "You better delete that." And I said, "I don't need to delete it. You're right. Maybe in the best tactful interest, I should have said, okay, I'll delete it and let them walk off and not delete it." However, if I did that, that encourages that person to walk around and
Another
intimidate
option
other
could have been like,
people.
"Hey, I recorded this, and it's my freedom, and I just want you to know that, hey, maybe I don't like you talking like that. If you have a problem with my video, you can more than willingly call police, or I can call police and have them come down and meet you."
Actually, in the middle of my video, while I was following them and the guy moved me, I said, "Just call the police if you don't like it." I actually stated that because I'm like,
I think both of y'all actually should have had a more than enough opportunity to call police. But you know what I mean?
yeah, I'm not. See, that's the big difference. I mean, honestly,
I think you could have very easily talked your way out of that situation versus like, "Hey man, like it's horrible that you talk to homeless, like you don't know what he's going through, you don't know his mental health situation, you don't know his life, but to talk to him like that, that's degrading to somebody and it's not right." And I recorded that maybe I can show you how ugly it looked from somebody else's perspective. Like you might have thought it was funny to you and your friends, but look what other people are seeing. Look how ugly it looks to other people.
Right.
Maybe him just seeing himself talk
No,
like that.
honestly, you're right about that point. The difference is that my network is a lot bigger than a lot of people realize, and their social media site that they're doing what they're doing, that will be recognized within a day, and then I'll post that on their social media.
Do you know what social media page they're doing?
I will within 3 days, and at that point, if I identify the individuals,
you
I will notify the police.
Yeah, you can let me know when you do.
Can't you report it to Facebook too, so they can take the video down?
No, I won't go through social media to do that. The thing is just like my video, I'm recording right now. I'm actually live streaming. It's public for anyone to see.
How many people you got watching? 1,000?
Nah, I'm not that big. I'm a small fish. Like I have 700 subscribers, 780. Either way.
780 more than I got.
Oh, is it through YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube.
Okay.
But I mean, at any given time, just because I have that many subscribers doesn't mean they're watching. They'll watch it later. But my thing about social media is, hey, you show what you want to show. You edit what you want to edit. Everyone does that. Police edit body cams that they release to the public. I release things that I show with police interactions. Okay? You guys have been really cool with me all throughout the day. Honestly, I did not expect a problem to be over there. I walked over there and I'm like, it's this guy. I'm still going to do what I have to do because he wants to make this a point.
There's a bee's nest.
Yeah, I'm going to kick. I am going to kick that hornet's nest, just like Moses Perales with parking enforcement tells me I'm not allowed to film in public areas. And I said, no, you're wrong. And the city attorney told him he's wrong. Sergeant Guzman told him he's wrong. But because he went and told two officers and they said, oh, you're right, it's private property, we'll have him arrested. Now he's under the opinion that he can continue to do that. So I'm like, absolutely not. Until you're knowledgeable, until you have the facts thrown in your face, I'm going to continue to do it.
I think sometimes people have a hard time accepting other things than what they believe. And
Well,
it sucks, but
It does. And I'm going to tell you straight out, people who do similar things to what I do, a lot of us are really bigger dicks than what I am. I can be a dick. You guys have seen that. At the same time, I think if you talk to Officer Rudiman, he'll tell you, the dude wasn't rude to me, he wasn't mean, but he told me, and I let him arrest me.
you know what I think it is? It's pride. People have too much pride.
And well, that's the deal. When I go further and I say, look, I'm going to let this go, but I won't let this go. And that's really what Next Door is about. Your officers who are next door, security officers, when I say officers, they're security officers under the state of Texas. Most of them refuse to display their name tags. And I bring that up to them. And I tell their owner, I'm like, you told me they're going to do this. They won't. And they're all like, well, we don't want to show our badge because, we don't want. And I'm like, look,
If you're one of that, you should put your name on there.
if you want to work private security in a private company, that's one thing. If you want to work private security for a public entity, for the city of San Antonio that requires you to wear a city of San Antonio badge, then you have to do that. If you don't, then give them their money back and go work somewhere else. Look, if
Well, I think you won't have any more issues with it.
I won't. I mean, honestly, I come down here every week. Every week I'm in the downtown area. You guys have seen me. I film you guys. I don't create problems when I film. Today was an exception. But if I go next door and the guy gives me grief, just like I told him, I'm going to walk outside. I'm not, if I wanted to, I'd have stayed inside and argued with him and been a bigger dick. And that would have escalated. But again, I said, I'm going to walk outside. Let the cops come. You tell them your side. I'll do my side. I've already cleared this from the city attorney. Your last
Were you
unlawful.
relieved when you saw us?
relieved. I was like, oh man,
These guys know what they're talking about. These are some good officers.
well, honestly, when I saw you come up, I'm like, man, they saw me earlier. They're already going to be prejudicial, but they know, honestly, as an activist, a rights
Did you
activist,
find us to be prejudiced because of your last incident?
no, I find that you're prejudiced in the fact that you know the guy's probably being a dick, but he's probably right. And those are both beneficial things. Just because
It
I'm
wasn't a bad prejudice, you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is, look, if I see you on the street tomorrow and you're arresting someone and I'm filming and I'm standing back, and that's typically what I do when I film, and you look over at me and you go, oh, it's that guy, you're going to know who I am. So you're going to have a prejudice. You're going to go, okay, well, he's reasonable or he's not. If you see another guy, and there's a couple auditors in San Antonio that open carry while they film police. I don't like that. That's me.
An open carry order. Oh, okay.
Like they have their firearms visible. That creates concern for you. You're going to look over and go, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. But if you look over and you see me, you're going to be prejudiced, correct?
That's your question. If I was in a fight and I looked like I needed help, would you help me?
Me, personally, if I walked outside and I saw you in a scuffle, I'm going to defend what I think is right. Which means if I see you being
You don't know
assaulted,
what happened. You just see me in a scuffle with somebody. You're like, damn. You know,
if I walk outside right now and you're in a scuffle on the ground with
you have
someone,
no idea what happened, why I'm in a scuffle, you saw me in a scuffle. Will you help me out? Would you help out any officer?
I would help out any officer that I felt's life was in danger. At the same time, as a person who carries a firearm, I have to be very, very careful about my level of commitment.
Yeah.
And I think you understand
Try
that.
to maybe try to calm the situation. Like, hey, you should not do that. Stop.
No, if I see someone beating you and look, if you walk outside and you're getting pounded on, you're in a fight, you're getting pounded on, doesn't matter if you initiated it or the other person did. If I walk outside and the person's pounding on you, I want that to stop until another officer can get there. So if I go up and I restrain him, great. But what happens if another officer comes up and they don't know that? You see what I'm saying? When you ask if I would get involved, that's a damn hard question to put to a civilian. Because if I get involved and then something bad happens, I'm the bad guy, no matter what.
It's actually happened. You ever see the big fight in front of our office? They call it the one burger fight thing that happened out here. It was on some social media.
Out here?
stuff. Yeah.
No.
So actually, one of the guys that was helping me was one of the bouncers.
From across the street?
No, from around the corner, that bar around the corner.
Okay. I know the guy's next door,
He
but
was
I
helping
don't.
me, and then he ended up being put in handcuffs. And then after everything's situated,
They let him, yeah.
yeah, it was like, hey man, that guy's cool, like release him. And so they took his handcuffs off and hey
Right.
man, thank you, because it was two big dudes I was having to fight. But anyway, I was just asking, just curious to see what your
No,
perspective
I mean,
was
honestly,
as far as-
in 2005, it may have been 2004, but I used to own a convenience store. When I said own, I managed it. I didn't physically own it, I rented it. I was unfortunately aggravated, robbed, whatever. I held the person at gunpoint. The officer showed up. The officer was cool, but his training wasn't up to where it should have been. And at whatever point,
We're at Tesla? I'm sorry. Where at? Who? Oh,
It's not Lamar.
we'll go over there.
okay.
Hey, I'm trying to
No,
cut this short.
you just gotta take off. I got you. Okay, you have a good evening.